The crew reported an unidentified hijacker on board. Minutes later, they radioed that they were diverting to Singapore. Then investigators heard gunshots on the cockpit voice recorder, followed by silence. The aircraft hit the ground at a near vertical angle at very high speed. All 100 people died. No one has ever explained who fired those shots or why. Malaysia Airlines Flight 653 was a short domestic hop on the evening of December 4, 1977, Penang to Kuala Lumpur. Routine. The Boeing 737 had been in service for 5 years. Captain G.K. Gunjur and First Officer Karamuzzaman Jolly were flying a route they knew well. Among the 93 passengers were Malaysia's agricultural minister, the head of the Public Works Department, and Cuba's ambassador to Japan. The flight should have taken less than an hour. They were expected to land at Subang Airport just after 8 o'clock. Nothing about the passenger manifest, the weather, or the aircraft's maintenance record suggested anything unusual. It was a domestic service on a reliable airframe, flown by experienced crew. The aircraft departed Penang at 7:21 in the evening. For the first half hour, everything proceeded normally. At 7:54, the crew began their descent toward runway 33 at Subang. They were at 4,000 feet over Batu Arang when the cockpit door was struck. The pilots immediately radioed Subang Tower. Someone was on board, an unidentified hijacker. The tower notified authorities, and emergency preparations began at the airport. Standard hijack protocol called for the crew to comply with demands, maintain communication when possible, and prioritize the safety of everyone aboard. The crew followed those procedures. Then one or more individuals forced their way into the cockpit. The crew cut off communications. A few minutes later, they came back on the radio with a single message. They were proceeding to Singapore. Good night. That transmission gave no indication of distress beyond the diversion itself. The tone was calm. The hijackers had taken control, and the flight was being rerouted to Singapore's airport, roughly 140 miles to the south. Subang Tower acknowledged and waited. Investigators later recovered the cockpit voice recorder. In the final minutes of the tape, they heard the pilots and the hijackers discussing fuel. The aircraft would not have enough to reach Singapore. The Boeing 737 had been prepared for a short domestic flight, not an international diversion. Then a series of gunshots. The investigation report concluded that both the pilot and co-pilot were fatally shot, leaving the plane, in their words, professionally uncontrolled. No one aboard had the training to fly the aircraft. The hijackers had eliminated the only 2 people capable of landing it. At 8:15, all communication with Flight 653 was lost. 21 minutes later, residents near Kampong Ladang in Tanjung Kupang, Johor, reported hearing explosions. They saw burning wreckage in a swamp. The Boeing 737 had struck the ground at a near vertical angle at extreme speed. There were no survivors. The impact site was remote. The wreckage scattered across waterlogged terrain. Recovery teams worked through difficult conditions to retrieve what remained. The hijackers shot the only 2 people who could fly the aircraft. Then they died with everyone else. Malaysia's Department of Civil Aviation conducted a full investigation. Their analysis confirmed that the aircraft had been hijacked by person or persons unknown. The crew followed proper hijack procedures throughout the flight. There was no explosion, fire, or structural failure before impact. The aircraft's final moments showed unusual pitching movements, up and down, that developed until the trajectory became unrecoverable. Those movements were caused by someone. The report identifies them only as person or persons unknown. Someone in the cabin or cockpit was attempting to control the aircraft after the pilots were incapacitated, but lacked the skill or knowledge to do so. The plane descended in erratic oscillations until it struck the ground. All recovered remains were X-rayed to find evidence of a projectile or weapon. None was ever found. The remains were interred in a mass burial. The investigation had documentation of gunshots on the voice recorder. It had evidence that both pilots were killed or incapacitated, but forensic examination of the bodies recovered no bullets, no fragments, no physical confirmation of a firearm. That absence has never been explained. It does not mean the gunshots were fabricated or misidentified. It means the physical evidence that should have been present was not recovered. Two broad scenarios fit the verified facts. The first is that the hijackers intended to divert the plane to Singapore, but panicked or miscalculated when they realized the fuel would not hold. Shooting the pilots may have been an act of desperation or rage, but this explanation requires accepting that individuals capable of organizing a hijacking did not account for a basic limitation like fuel range, and then eliminated the only people who could save them. It suggests impulsive violence rather than planning. It treats the outcome as an accident born from miscalculation. The second scenario is that the hijackers never intended to land anywhere. The diversion call and the shootings were part of a plan to destroy the aircraft. This fits the outcome, but it leaves open why anyone would choose a method that guaranteed their own death and what they hoped to accomplish. If the goal was destruction, there are more direct methods. If the goal was political, no statement was ever made. If the goal was to kill specific passengers, the identities of the hijackers and their targets remain unknown. Neither explanation accounts for why no forensic evidence of a weapon was recovered. The investigation heard gunshots on the cockpit voice recorder. It documented that both pilots were incapacitated, but X-rays of the remains found no projectiles, no fragments, no physical proof of a firearm. The Department of Civil Aviation did not speculate on what this absence meant. It simply reported the fact. No group claimed responsibility. No motive was established. No individual was ever charged or named. The passenger list was reviewed. Backgrounds were investigated. No clear suspect emerged. The hijackers were aboard the aircraft. They forced their way into the cockpit. They caused the deaths of everyone on Flight 653, but their identities were never confirmed and their reasons were never known. Flight 653 was the first fatal crash in Malaysia Airlines history. It remains the deadliest aviation disaster on Malaysian soil. In its aftermath, Malaysia established the Aviation Security Unit within the Department of Civil Aviation. Security protocols at Malaysian airports were overhauled. Cockpit doors were reinforced. Screening procedures were tightened. The changes were reactive, built on the assumption that better security could prevent a repeat. But the case itself was never closed with answers, only conclusions about what did not happen. The investigation ruled out mechanical failure, fire, explosion, and structural collapse. It confirmed that the crew acted correctly. It documented the presence of one or more hijackers and the fatal incapacitation of both pilots. What it could not determine was who those individuals were, why they acted, or what they intended to achieve by ensuring the destruction of the aircraft and everyone aboard. The final report uses the phrase person or persons unknown 11 times. It is a formal acknowledgement of uncertainty. The cockpit voice recorder preserved the final minutes. Conversation about fuel, a series of gunshots. Then the plane pitched uncontrollably until it hit the ground at Tanjung Kupang. 100 people died. The identity of the person or persons who caused it remains formally unresolved. The tape still exists. The evidence still exists. But no explanation has ever connected them to a confirmed individual or a confirmed motive. The unsolved vault. Every case leaves something behind.